All right. Excellent. All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Let's start first with just some quick overview of what we're going to be reviewing. The agenda today is going to be talking a little bit about managing the reports page. I'm going to go ahead and stop my video here. There we go. Managing your reports page, creating new reports. We're going to talk about building basic demographic reports, demographic summaries, intake enrollment reports, and a basic activity report that also includes summaries. So we're going to be going over, I'll walk through how to do each one of these types of reports in Case Manager. These tend to be the most common ones in Case Manager. So we'll go over each one of these and show you how to do that. When we're done with the training, I'm also going to provide you with access to a Google Drive folder that will include each step in creating each one of these types of reports in your own site as well. So those exercises will walk you through exactly what I'm talking about today as well. Once we look at creating those new reports, we will then look a little bit at how to access current reports that are in the system, and then how to edit and copy those reports as well. All right, oops, let me go the right way here. Okay, so the main thing in thinking about building reports in Case Manager is going to be looking at the types of forms that you're going to use. So let's go ahead and hop into Case Manager here. All right, excellent. Right now we're in what we call our sandbox site. So I'm going to walk you through how to do some things and look at reports in this particular site. So where we're always going to start with this, guys, is over here on the navigation bar under reports. This is our reports widget. All right, let's talk a little bit about what you can do on this reports page and how it's set up in the system here. So a couple things. You're going to look at this. It looks very similar to Excel, which we're all sort of used to with our different columns here. What you have first is the name of reports on this side, followed by a description, what kind of report it is, who created it, when it was created, when it was modified, and whether it's published or not. So those are sort of just the quick information. This is very similar to your participant dashboard that gives you sort of columns of information across the top. To the right, for each report that's already built in here. So also, like things in our system, anything that's yellow is a direct link to going to that particular information. So you can see here that these reports are already built. If I hover over them, it'll allow me to click on them and actually open that report. Over to the right here as well, if you click on actions and you scroll down a little bit, it's going to come up with a menu of actions for each report that's already built in here as well. So as you build reports, you then create your list of reports in here, and then it allows you to do these different things with them. You can edit reports, you can publish or draft. So if you want to create a report, but you don't want everybody to see it right away, you can create it as a draft or actually publish it. You can duplicate, you can move, you can export, or you can delete reports. So this is just a basic drop down of menu items you can do once you have built a report in the system. All right, and looking at reports, you can see I've just got a list of reports right here, but I also have the ability to create folders. So you can create a new report and you can create new folders, and you can do folders within folders. So when you go to practice or create your own reports in the system after the training today, I would recommend that you create a new folder and call it your practice folder. If you're an organization, if you work for an organization that has lots of users, you may want to just definitely create it with your name on it. So you don't sort of, create a big list of reports that you have to dig through all the time. It's nice to sort of narrow them down by creating folders. So I would create a folder like I've done here that's Shannon Practice Reports. Excellent. Okay. Once I've created that folder, I can do a couple things. I can move current reports and drag and drop them into that folder, or I can open that folder, and you can see I don't have any in here right now, and I can click Add New Report from there. So again, let's go back to the screen. So when we look at creating a report in the system, you can create a report based on any form that you have built in the system. The main three types of forms are participant forms. So this is going to be your profile page, your activity forms, that sort of thing. You also have the ability to build reports off of referral forms. Now, not all organizations use referral forms, but what this is when somebody completes a application or referral to your program through an online link or through your website. So you can build reports based on those forms as well. And then the last one is organizational forms. And guys, these are the ones that are more the general forms. So these are tracking your events out in the community, things that are not necessarily attached to participants. So that's what you consider your organization forms. Again, these will be different based on your individual organization. Every type of form in here is fully customizable to your needs. So everybody's going to be a little bit different. All right. So when I go to create add new report, I'm going to click here. Couple things to do right away is report name. So I highly recommend that you sort of get used to using the same type of setup for creating reports. So based on the first report we're going to do, we're calling it a basic demographic report. So I'm just going to name it demographic reports. Oops. And sometimes I like to do all because I'm going to pull a single report that pulls in all kinds of demographic information. So I want to pull a report of all the demographics across my individuals that I've been working with. Then under report description, this is where I can describe what this report is with a little bit more detail. So let's say that I want to do this cumulative for the program year. So I can just write cumulative program year. And then I can do, let's say I'm going to do 7/2021 through 6/2022. However I want to do that. Just some basic information here to kind of give you an idea of what you're looking at. So you're going to name your report, you're going to describe your report. And the last thing here is report type. Now, again, this is going to be different based on your organization. For some organizations, you have multiple sites in Case Manager, so you can pick and choose that you want to build this report and pull data from other sites into this particular report, or just a single organization, so your single site. For sake of our practice, we're going to do single organization. All right, scrolling down, I talked a little bit about the 3 different kinds of forms. You can see that here. Now, like other things in Case Manager, the yellow means, the yellow bar like this means that it's toggled. So if I want to open it, I simply click on it to open that section up. So since we're doing a demographic report, we're going to open up participant forms. And what you're going to see here is a list of all the forms that are currently or have ever been in the system. So if a form gets to, you're no longer using a form, that sort of thing, you'll always still be able to report on it. So it's always going to be in here. So this list may look a little bit different in reporting than it does in your entry screen, because some of these reports have been maybe disabled or no longer using, but you still have access to their data. All right. Your forms are going to show up in alphabetical order. Now, these may look a little bit different, again, based on your organization, but the first thing we're going to want to pull in, especially for demographic fields, is going to be your participant profile. So whatever you call that particular organization. Now, to pull that into our report, we simply click on it and it creates, under select forms, it starts creating the forms that we want in this particular report. Now, I always recommend pulling in the profile, but also pulling in your status form or your assignment form, whatever that is, that sort of says who's active, not active, sort of what their status in the program, because then you could filter for just active demographics versus, people who've just started the program, that sort of thing. So I'm going to pull also program status in here. So I'm saying I want these 2 forms in my report because I want fields from these forms there. And I'm going to click next. All right, so let me hop back to our PowerPoint here. So now, there we go. Now that we have chosen our forms, our next step is to choose your fields or your values. So now you've chosen your form, what fields and values do you want to be included in your report? So all fields will be available for reporting, even disabled fields. So if you're no longer using a particular question, you can still report on that question. There's a set of common form fields. So again, your drop down of fields that are in your report or your options are going to be different based on your organization because it's customized to you. But there are a set of common form fields that are included in every single form in the system. The first one is completed by, modified by, assigned case manager, assigned secondary case manager, and case manager account name. So every report you pull, it's going to automatically have these as options to pull into your report. Now, assigned case manager is a great one to pull in if you want to be able to pull a report or filter by a particular case manager. You can do those things really easily in the system. One thing that is really nice to pull into your reports is your completed by, because if you pull your completed by field into your reports, and I'll show you that in a second, it's going to give you a link in the report to go back and look at the form. So I'll show you what that looks like as we move forward, but that's always one I recommend pulling in. Oops, goodness, sorry. Also, if you're ever going to want to run an unduplicated count, meaning I want to know how many individuals, an unduplicated count of people you've served, you should always include your system ID. And this is automatically generated in your profile. And I'll show you that as well. Also, I recommend that you usually pull in your first and last name of your participant. And the reason I say that is it's much easier to look at the report and be able to go back and search for a first and last name in case you see a duplicate or something along those lines. So it just makes it easier to go back and find the actual file connected to that particular line in your report. Again, you want to add your completed by link to link back to form, and I'll show you that as well. The other thing I recommend in here to you guys is not pulling too many forms into a single report. If you try to pull too much of data into a single report and make it do everything, it can get really sort of cumbersome. A lot of times it's easier to pull specific reports for specific things. And I'll show you what that looks like too as we move forward. Okay, so this is sort of just a quick overview of the fields and values that you want to pull into your report. So let's go ahead and go back to our screen here. So we've selected our forms. We have our profile and our program status. So again, these are toggled. So if I open this up, you're going to see a list of all of your current or disabled options or questions in your particular participant profile. So like I noted, I recommend pulling in your system ID. I usually do last name, first name. That's just me. You can do it however works for you. There as well, you can pull in age at intake if that's important, and you simply can just go down and choose all of the demographic fields that you want to be part of this report. Now, I recommend pulling in any of the fields that you want to report on demographically into this main report, and then I'll show you how to build a summary so you can break out things such as, I just want to know a breakdown of gender, I just want to know a breakdown of sexual orientation, primary race, veteran status, housing status, marital status, that kind of thing. So I'm just going to kind of pull in a list of all of the different kinds of fields from my profile form. So again, this is going to look different for each one of you because it'll be specific to your site. Now, I mentioned when we were looking at the PowerPoint that we want to pull the completed by. So you can see these are those common fields that are an option for every single form. So I'm going to go ahead and pull in completed by, because again, I want to be able to go back and look at a profile if something doesn't look right. And I'll show you that in a second. Down here under program status, I may not want to filter for this, but it might be interesting to know their start date and their status. So I just might want to get an idea of sort of where they're at in the program. Okay, so to close these back up, I can just click back on them here. And now you can see I've got my list over here of all of the fields I want to be part of my report. Now in here too, you can reorder any of these. So if it's important for you to have certain ones in order, that sort of thing, you can absolutely just sort of drag and drop and change the order within each form. You cannot pull something from this form up into this form. It has to stay within the form it's in. All right, excellent. Now that I've chosen all of the fields, I'm going to click next. All right. The next thing we have is the ability to set filters for a particular report. So a filter is going to allow us to sort of limit the amount of information we're going to see. So the way this is right now, guys, is if we were to pull this report, it's just going to give us all of these fields for everybody in the program. There's no filter on this. So let me go back to the PowerPoint here real quick. And sorry, it's doing weird. Okay. This is choosing your filters. So the common filters that we use the most in reports is going to be date fields. This is a big one. We want to look at activities for a particular date frame. We just want people who are enrolled in a particular date frame, things like that. So the common field date fields, and then also your filters for answer options. So what particular answer are you looking for? I just want everybody who is male, or, you know, that sort of thing. So you can filter by answer options, or you can filter by completed or not completed. So I only want to see those that completed this particular answer. Also, filters can be added to the summaries. So like I said, it's good to pull a big report like we're doing right now with all of the different fields in it. And then within any particular summary, we'll be able to filter that back down. Okay, back here. So again, now I'm in my defined criteria, which is my filter. And I could choose at any point to filter by any of these particular profile fields, but I don't want to do that because when I named it, I want my cumulative, my data to be for the current program year. So let's say I just want everybody who started within this program year. I'm going to click on the field that I want to filter. And because this is a date field, it's automatically going to allow me to choose my date range. So again, like a lot of different things, it's going to give you today, this week, this month. You can filter by birth month. You can filter by most recent, less than, greater than, between, is empty or is filled. So again, those are those sort of two fields. But I'm going to say I want greater than or equal to. So I want all dates that are before January, I'm sorry, greater than, so after July 1, 2021. So I'm just going to go back to July 1. So I'm saying every date, including 7/1 and after, is what I want to run for. Then I'm going to click next. And it's going to give me sort of a quick view of what has been completed. And again, this is going to look very much like Excel, guys. And if this does look good, so sometimes what happens is I create a filter that it doesn't bring up any data because I did the filter wrong, that sort of thing. So if you have a question about that, you can open your forms and filters up here to kind of double check that things are correct. All right, if this looks good, it's important to click finish because you can go back at this point. So if something doesn't show up correctly, or you accidentally did 7/1/2022 and didn't get any data, right? You can always go back and continue that. But this is just a quick preview. So I'm going to go ahead and click finish. It's going to tell me up here that my report was created. And again, I can open up here to see my forms and filters if I need to. And I can scroll down and look at my data. I can scroll over. So I talked a little bit about this link by adding completed by. So what this allows me to do is click on this if I want to go actually see this, and it's going to take me right to their participant profile. And if I want to go back to the form, I just click the back button, the report, and it takes me back to the report. So it allows me to go back and forth to go ahead and look at this particular row of data based on, again, the yellow in the system means it's a direct quick link to go into that particular activity. The other thing from here, guys, it's going to give you down here your total number. So right now, this is a really low number. I only have 6, but I know we've got groups out there that have, 6,000 in here. So it's only going to show 10 rows per page, but you can change your rows right here too, to look at everybody if you want to. The nice thing about that is what it allows you to do too, is if you click on any of your columns, it's going to reorder things based on that column and flip side. So, depending if you want older at the top, younger at the bottom, that sort of thing. So this really allows you to sort and look at your data really quickly from there. Also, if I just wanted to, quick counts, I've only got 6 in here, so I could run a super quick report being like 1, 2, 3, 2, kind of thing from there, and sort by these different columns and get my totals. The other thing I can do up here is export. So if I, want to just export any data at any time to Excel or to a CSV form. Excel is where you can really work with the data. So if you want to export it, you want to create your own tables, pivot, tables, those sort of things, you can absolutely do that by exporting right here. If I click the box, click export to Excel. Your CSV option this is usually the option if you're going to import into another system. CSV is sort of the, language that the different systems use to import or export data between systems. So if you need to upload your case manager data into another system, you can export a CSV file, which already has it in the correct language for you. All right, cancel back out. Okay, so again, this is your basic demographic report that we've done here. You can always go in and edit them as well. Now let's go ahead and go back to our main reports page. So up at the top here, you'll see as you go into the system farther and farther, it'll create what's called breadcrumbs up here. So to go back one step, you just click on the breadcrumb at the top, and it's taking you back to my main page here. Now, again, this is going to be all of the reports that are in the system. If I click on my practice reports, you can now see I've got my demographic report right in here. And it's also creating breadcrumbs across the top here. So if I want to go back to my folder, which is right here, I click there. If I want to go back to the main report screen, I click back to that. So it kind of allows you, sometimes you get deep in with lots of folders and you just want to skip out to one, and you can do that right there. So let me go back into practice reports here. All right, so that is just a basic demographic report right there. All right, cool. So the next thing, let's say we want to do is we want to create a summary. So great, Shannon, that Excel format is great, but it doesn't really give us a quick, report of what our totals are. And that's what we can do with summaries. So summaries are really great to utilize in the system as well. So because I've created my report here, I'm going to go ahead and go over here to actions. And now I'm going to want to just edit it. All right, so I don't really want to change anything in the report, but this will allow me to kind of, if I did want to make any changes, I can go in and edit, make any changes here and click finish. When I click finish, it's going to open it up and allow me to click a summary right here. So that's sort of the process to go through if you want to make any changes before you create a summary. But I'm going to go back to my screen here. If I just want to go in and make a summary, all I have to do is click here, right? And it takes me right into my report. Again, I can double check my filters and my forms. I can see my report here. What I'm going to want to do is go over here to the summary tab up in the corner. So what it's going to allow me to do is, because I've pulled all of this data into one big report, the summary is going to allow me to filter it out a little bit. So I'm going to click summary and I'm going to click add summary. So the first thing I want to do is I usually open up these fields. So again, I can build a summary off of any of these fields I want to, but I want a breakdown of my gender, let's say, or my sexual orientation. So what I normally do is I name my summary, whatever the particular data is I'm going off of. So I'm going to go with, gender. My summary name is gender. So the first thing I'm definitely going to want to do is move into the next step, which is adding your columns. Now you could first here, if you wanted to just create a filter and say, I only want the gender of everybody that's under a certain age. So you could create a filter even down more to limit what you're going to see. But I just want the gender for everybody. So I'm going to close this up. I'm going to click next. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is say, what fields do I want to pull into this particular summary? So I want my gender. And then down here, I also want my total count and unduplicated count. So I usually pull both of these in, these two fields into a report, just because in case there's a duplicate in there that I didn't realize, things like that. So usually they're almost always the same number for demographics, but it's kind of nice to give you an idea. So I'm going to do total count, unduplicated count. So what I'm saying is I want counts of gender of all of my participants. And I'm going to click next. So I didn't create any filters because I just want all of my data. I added what columns I want. I want type of gender. I want my total count and unduplicated count for each type of gender. The next thing I have to do is say how I want to see this information. So the main thing I'm creating a summary on is gender. So I want to go in here. I want to set this as my baseline field, meaning I want my counts to be related back to the gender. Now, You definitely set this as a baseline field, and then you have an option here to include all possible values or just the ones that have answers. So I'm going to show you the difference here. I'm going to leave it on saying, show me all possible values, even if there's zeros from there. All right, so I'm going to turn that on, and then I still have my total count, unduplicated count, and I'm going to click next. This is where we would create a chart. We're going to do charts at the next training because it's just an extra step to do. So we're going to skip chart. We're just going to leave that off and click finish. All right. Now you see the quick summary here. For female, my total count's 2, unduplicated 2. So my data is clean. Gender non-binary, you can see I have zeros, transgender zeros, and then male 4. And 4 for my totals. So this is your quick report saying, man, I need to know my gender, really quickly on everybody. This will automatically update as well as you add new participants to the system. So once you create this report once, you can go in and pull these summaries at any time, and it'll be automatically updated for you. So again, you can go in and delete or edit this at any time as well. But let's say I want to also do more summaries. So I need a summary for each one of my demographics. I don't have to create a new report. I just create a new summary. So let's say my next summary is going to be on, let's go ahead and do primary race. So I'm going to name it primary race, just so I know what this data is, right? And I'm not going to create any filters. I'm good with everything as is. So I'm going to go next, and I'm going to open this back up, and I'm going to choose primary race, total count, and duplicated count. Click next. I'm going to click, because I'm at my data setup, I'm going to have to say what my baseline is. So my baseline is primary race. This time I'm going to turn off possible values. I only want to see the ones that actually have answers. So I'm going to turn that one off just to show you what that looks like. The count of null values, this one's a little bit different. We usually use this like in activities. So I'll show you what that looks like in activities. It doesn't make sense for demographics because most of these demographic fields are required. All right, and then click next. Again, I'm not going to do my chart, and I'm going to click finish. Cool, I'm going to scroll down. So I still have my gender summary here. I'm scrolling down to primary race, and you can see it's only bringing up the answers that are here from there. So that's really just going to give you all of that information. Boom, there you go. All right, so we did have a question come through, and it said, what if you didn't choose total count or unduplicated count? What would happen is you wouldn't come back with any data because it wouldn't know how you wanted to see that data, like what you wanted that data to show. So now you're saying I need counts of these answers from there. So great question, but let's create another summary real quick and show you what that would look like. So here under profile, I'm going to create a new summary. I usually look at my options in here to make sure I name my summary the same thing my actual question is, but that's just sort of my own process. So let's do housing status for this one. Okay. And again, I'm going to click next. I'm going to open this back up. I'm going to say housing status. Again, if I were to pull this in, it wouldn't give me any details. It would just create a list of housing statuses. So I need at least a total count or an unduplicated count. You can just pull unduplicated count in, click next, click housing status, set it as my baseline. This time I can include all possible values, click next, and then finish. So again, gender's still here, primary race is here, and as I scroll down, now I have my housing status down here as well. So this is really a great way to do it sort of at the beginning of the program year, that sort of thing, especially for demographics, because you really only have to create this report once and it'll continuously stay updated for you as you move through. So it's always going to be updated. So let's go back again. Now that we've created all of these, let's go back again to the step before, which is going to be reports. I'm going to go back into my practice report. So again, this report is ready to go. I can open it at any time. This will continuously be updated as you add more participants. I can go over to my summary. My summaries will be automatically updated as well. So they're always in here. I can add more summaries based on those fields. The other thing I can do too, guys, is I can export my summaries too. And so when I export my summaries, it's going to create a separate tab in your Excel file for each one of these summaries. So you'll have a gender tab, a race tab, that sort of thing. I do a ton of reporting for different grants and that sort of thing for different customers. And this is really how I build things out to make it really easy to export data if I need to, or to just look at the data really quickly and put it into my report. All right, excellent. Okay, let's hop back here and just double check. Okay, cool. So far we've talked about building a basic demographic report and demographic summaries. Now let's take a look at the intake enrollment report and active status. So this is going to be creating some different filters for us. All right, so again, I'm back on my reports here. If I end up back on my main page, just to kind of review things here too, guys, is you are here. This is our organization dashboard that we're really sort of used to. Over here on the left, navigation bar, our report section, we pop right into here. I have my different reports and I can create my practice reports here too. So now let's talk about, we talked about demographic reports. That's a super common one, but let's look at enrollment reports as well. So let's talk a little bit about how we filter for intake, year, and enrollments. And we kind of already did that with the demographic field. So we may just kind of combine a couple things here. So let's say that I want to run a report for all participants that have been active last quarter. So let's just look at last quarter. So let's look at active participants. What I normally do is by quarter, if this is going to be a common report I'm going to do. So I need to know how many active participants did we have last quarter. And then normally what I do when I build the report, I say the quarter it's for. So I do 1 to 2022. Again, everybody has their own sort of thing. And then usually I remind myself something here as well. You can always go in and update this. So if you're going to run the same report for this current quarter, you could go in and just change the dates on it, or you can copy it and change other dates. And I'll show you what that looks like. But usually I try to remind myself to remember to update, just because sometimes, you know, you forget, you run a report and be like, these dates aren't right for future quarters. And that's just a quick report description for myself. Again, you guys can kind of use what works best for you. Scrolling down, again, we're going to select our form, participant forms. I'm going to pull my profile in here because, again, I need that count of participants, and then my program status because I want everybody who's active within the time frame. So I'm going to go next. I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to choose the fields that I want to utilize in here. So again, system ID, last name, first name, any other basic information you may want. Again, you can scroll down to the completed by if you want to link back to their demographic form, to their profile form as well. For those of you that have multiple sites, you can also add in your case manager account name. And so what this would do is also allow you to sort or filter by the site that is entering things. So I'm going to do program status. I'm going to do start date and status. Here, again, you can add any of these other fields in if you want to, but we're just going to focus on this for now. So I'm going to close these back up and I'm just going to double check. I want my site ID, last name, first name, completed by, their start date, and their program status. All right, cool. So basic here, I don't need to edit by any of these. These are all good. I'm going to go into my status form and I'm going to say I want my program start date to be whatever time frame it is. So again, it's going to be between, let's just do January 1 through February 31st. There, and then I'm choosing my date range, which we've noticed before, but now I want to change my status. And I want that to be, I only want the ones that are considered active during this time frame. So I'm going to go equals and just type in active. Important here, guys, when you go to build reports, make sure if you need to filter for a particular thing, just make sure you know exactly how it's spelled, like, or typed in there. So active is an easy one, but things like that, just make sure you do that for sure in there. Now you can add multiple conditions. So if we wanted to make sure they were active, but I want to make sure they're not, you know, I want everybody who is active in the system. Let's say that I also wanted to add somebody who was dismissed. You could also say equals dismissed. So I want everybody who was active or dismissed in this time frame. So there's some different things you can do in there. But normally for this sort of basic report we're talking about is just going to equal active. Click next. And it's going to give me a quick view of everybody whose enrollment program start date was within that time frame. They're considered active. I can go in and look at any of these files if I want to. If this looks good, I'm going to click finish. And there I am done here in the system. Here's my list of everybody active within the time frame. There. So super quick rundown of how to filter for those particular things. I can always check here. So let's say I go into, and it's next quarter. I'm going to go back to my reports, click on practice reports. Let's say it's next quarter. And I want to see here, okay, yeah, this is filtered just for this time frame. So I have a couple options. I can go in here and I can change and edit my filters if I want to and create a new report. Or I can go back to reports, click back on this report. The cool thing I can do is if I want to keep this data as is, I may just want to go back and run this report. People sometimes backdate things, you know, into a previous quarter. So let's say I want to keep this one just as that quarter. What I can do is over here under actions, I can go in and duplicate this report. So I don't have to rebuild it. So I'm going to do this again. And now I'm going to do, let's just do Q2 2022. So I can name it, oops, however I want to do it. Again, in my description, I can do my dates. So this is going to be for 2022 through 6/2022 and duplicate report. So now I've got both of these reports in here. Now, just because this is a mistake I made in the past, just because I said these are the dates, doesn't mean that's what it is right now. So I need to go in and edit this for the correct dates. So just because I duplicated doesn't mean it's going to update those dates for me. So I'm going to go into my new report and I'm going to edit it. And I still want all the same data. So I'm just going to click next. I want the same fields, next. The only thing I want to change is the start date. And instead of between these two dates, I'm going to forward it into between forward this one, April 1st through June 30th. Those are my two new dates. Click next. I can see I've only got one. I can go ahead and finish it. And now there's my new report here in the system now as well. When I go back to my reports list here, by using my breadcrumbs across the top, you can see I've got multiple reports in here. The other thing you can do is within your reports, you can add another new folder. So sometimes you're going to get lots of reports. So what I do is I do like enrollment reports. And I'll add another folder in here just to kind of clean things up. So it's a little bit like Google Drive for those of you that use it, which can be, I know, messy as well. But this allows you to sort of sort and clean up some of these things as much as possible. Oops, I put that one in the wrong place. So if I did that, I can go back up, move it up. If I need to go back to another folder, I can use my breadcrumbs here, or I can do the up link there. And this is the one I want to pull into that report. All right, excellent. Okay, so let's go back to my report screen here, which is I'm on. I've got my enrollment reports. I've got demographics in here. The next thing I want to show you is your activity reports. This is the other main one that we use a lot, and that's really great for summaries as well. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new report. And I'm going to do just activity reporting. Again, you can kind of choose whatever makes the most sense for you. For dates and things like that, I'm going to do all activities. And for now, I'm just going to do all time. Sometimes it's nice, guys, to create an all-time report first and then make copies of this report to then narrow down your time frames. So that's really nice to do as well. So a lot of times I'll create an overarching all data report and then copy that report for particular time frames, which works really nice. So again, my report name, my description, I'm a single organization right now, and I'm going to go into participant forms. Like most things, guys, I'm going to pull my profile in because I want my count of participants, and I'm going to pull my activity tracking form in to this report. Once I've got those, I'm going to click next. I'm going to go into my profile. I'm going to do system ID, last name, first name. We're keeping it simple today. So I'm just going to keep it simple with these two. Here, I'm going to close that up. I'm going to open up activity tracking. So I just want to know who, that's my profile. And now I want to track what. So I want my date of service. Let's say I want to know how much time. And I'm going to do just type of activity and service. So I want to count that way. Now, what I always do with activity tracking too is I go back, I add this completed by, because again, if I see a duplicate or something that wasn't entered correctly, I can go back to the form by clicking on that link. So I'm going to add completed by. All right. So again, basic activity report. I'm going to click next. I'm not going to really define any criteria. So you could go in here and just choose, your date. If you wanted a particular set of time frame of your date, things like that, you could easily do that here, but I just want everything. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. All right, cool. So what's going to come up is just a quick view. Again, I can double check my forms and filters, and I'm saying, hey, I just want everything. So I want any activities that have been entered into the system. And again, I can go in and click and look at things. Now, this is my preview. This is your report preview. So you can go back and make any edits if this didn't come up correctly for you, or you just simply click finish. And again, you can see the finish here. Now I talked earlier, you can see that there's lots more lines of data, and you also have rows here, counts for you. So if I wanted to see all data, I can go up to however many, and it's going to show me all the data in here. And you can see this is duplicative. So this is entering in, you can see Ricky Fake has done a lot of different activities in here with different time spreads, different kinds of activities, that sort of thing. But let's say if I saw something that was duplicative, like there was two things on the same day. So for example, right here, 4141, if those were the same activities, I can click here and it's going to take me to that actual form in the system to review. So I'm Ricky Fake. This is the one I wanted to look at. If there's something I needed to update, I can do that. And then I just simply click my main back button and it's going to take me back to the report. So it's really nice to do this as a double check. And again, all you have to do is add that completed by field to your reports to be able to go back and view any of these things. All right, so now that I have my data, this is great. Again, I can sort by clicking any of these columns. I can export to Excel these results if I prefer to do things in Excel, or if I just need a CSV file of this. Really, really easy to do. The other thing we can do that I highly recommend with this is your summary. So because this has been built, I can go up here and click on summary. Now, similar to our previous ones, I can add a summary, and I'm going to do it by activity type, or the first thing I want to do is just do my counts. So I want to know how many per activity, duplicated and unduplicated. So that's going to be my count. The next report I'm going to do, because we track time in activity, I can also do by time. So let's start first by counts by activity. All right. So I'm going to go in here and I'm not going to filter anything. I just want activities. So I'm going to click next. All right. So I'm going to go down to, I don't need my profile because that's already part of it. What I want is a breakdown of type of activities, and I want my total count and unduplicated count. So I want to know how many activities were completed for how many individuals. That's our difference between total count and unduplicated count. I'm going to click next. All right, now I'm at my setup data. So this is again where I'm going to choose what my main thing I'm reporting on is. And that's going to be my type of activity and service is going to be my baseline field, because I want to know these numbers based on the type of activity. So again, I'm going to turn on my baseline field and include all possible values as well. Or I can turn that off. It's really dependent on what you prefer. Next. Again, we'll work on charts at our next training, and I'm going to click finish. All right, this is a report. Now, this particular one I'm using has a lot of data in it. So if I pull this up and I'm like, oh man, this is a longer list than what I was looking for. I don't want to see everything. I can go to edit, and I'm going to click next. And what I'm going to change is here under this baseline field, I don't want to include all possible values. That was too long of a list and we've got a lot of zeros in there. So I'm going to do that, click next. I'm going to go ahead and finish it. And so this is just me editing. And now you can see it's much shorter and it's only including the ones that have entries. So again, guys, total count versus unduplicated count. This can be really confusing sometimes, but your unduplicated count is how many individuals have a case management progress note entered for them. So there's 8 individuals that have a progress note, and there's 12 total progress notes across those 8 individuals. So this is a really nice quick count. A lot of grants require this. If any of my transforming safety grantees are on this, this is a big one that we do for that particular project, things like that. So unduplicated count, how many received the service. Total count, how many services were provided to those individuals. Community service is a great example right here. So again, this will continue to update as you enter more things in the system from there. So again, these are our counts. So now that we've got counts, let's go ahead. This is a little more advanced, but we've got a few minutes. So let's go ahead and look at how to track time as well. So I'm going to add another summary, and my summary is going to be by time or activities, time by activity. That's what I want to call it. Sorry. There we go. Okay. And so I'm not going to filter anything. I'm going to click next again. And under activity tracking, this time I want type of activity, but instead of counts, and I can still do counts if I want, but let's just do total hours. So I want to know each activity and service, how many hours were spent. I can click next. Again, I'm going to click on type of activity because that's my baseline. I don't want all values. We saw that there was a lot there. And then what I'm going to do a little bit different here, guys, is I'm going to click on hours and I'm going to do sum. So when you track hours, you could also do average hours. So if you want to know the average amount of time for each activity or the total amount of time for each activity. So let's do sum first. And I could look at this too, guys, and go, okay, I want both of those data fields. So what I could do is go up and change this summary and add sum, because this one's going to be sum, and then I'm going to do another summary that's average. But let's go ahead and do that. So this is our sum, and I'm going to click next, and then I'm going to finish. So here's my counts, my first summary I did, and then here's my time. So again, this is going to be by sum. So time by activity. So each activity, how much total hours were spent on each activity. So that's the sum. But let's go ahead and do an average as well. So let's see if we need to know how many, on average, how much time is spent. So I'm going to add a new summary, and I'm going to do time by activity. Oops. Oh my goodness. There we go. And let's do average. And so what I'm going to do a little bit different with this one, guys, I'm going to speak to the second one. I'm going to say type of activity and hours. And then I'm going to click next. Type of activity is my baseline. I'm going to turn off all possible values. And this time under hours, I'm going to do average. I'm going to click next and finish. And now when I scroll down, I've got my time sum, and now I have my average. So per each activity. So this is looking at every activity time. For basic needs, every entry on average is an hour. This is really good data to have if you're checking the quality of your data entry, right? So if you go in here and you see under community service, the average time for each activity is 0.25 or something, you can see that the time isn't being entered correctly. But this is really great data to just see quickly around your time spent, that sort of thing, as well in the system. All right. Cool. So again, if I want to export these summaries, I can do that. I can export my results and the summaries. So what's really nice about this export function, guys, is if you do the results and the summaries, it's going to put the results, which is your whole big table, on your first tab, and then it's going to create a tab for each one of these different activities after that for you to be able to review as well. So it exports everything on a separate tab, really easy to report that data back out. I can always go, when I'm in my summaries, I can always go back to my results. If I want to take another look at this, I can sort by any of these. I've got my row numbers to the left here as well. All right. Again, I'm going to go back up to my reports, follow my breadcrumbs here. And I can see now, if I click on Shannon practice reports, I've got these reports in here. For the activity report, if I need to run it for last quarter, I can simply go in here, duplicate it, activities, Q1, let's just do 2022. I've lost all track of time, quarterly activities. So I can duplicate that report. Since I created the first one, this is my overall, I can go in here and do that. And all I need to do is go in and edit it. And I'm going to just move forward. And I'm going to go all the way to define criteria because I want the same report. My only difference is I want my date of service to be between the last quarter, or so to be the last quarter. So I just drop my dates in here. Click next. And now you can see, I can go ahead and finish this, that I only have 68. I had a lot of these last quarter. And my summaries, now, when I click on summary right now, guys, it's not, the summary is not copying. This is just a quick error we're having in the system. This will be fully able to use within the next couple of weeks. So right now, when you copy a form, the summaries don't copy, but that will be happening in the future. So again, you simply copy it. It's going to bring all the data forward, that sort of thing. You can always run your main activity report that has all the data in it as well. All right. So a couple more things I just wanted to overview is let's go back to, let's say we were on our main page here. We do have this section on our dashboard. As a quick sort of additional training here, you can customize your own dashboard by clicking this widget over here. So this widget allows you to choose what widgets you see on your screen. Now, normally when we set up sites, we automatically set this up to only see the ones that are most appropriate for you. So if your site doesn't do referrals, you don't have your referral feed on there. The calendar we're updating with some notifications, so you'll be seeing that soon, but most sites don't use the calendar either, but you can adjust what you see here. So I went ahead and removed the referral from this for now. And then what I do have is my top 5 reports. So as you've been seeing, we have to go over here to reports, go into the folders to be able to access these reports. But what we can do is we can create these top 5 reports on our main screen to make it easier from the organizational dashboard to open these. So let's say that I want this activity report. I want this on my main screen because I want to open it regularly just to kind of get a quick idea of what we're doing. So all I need to do is check the box next to it and say save top 5 reports. And it's going to add it to my top 5 reports. I can go to view top 5 reports. It's going to tell me which ones are in here. I can uncheck any of these if I don't want them on my screen anymore. Like right now, I've got duplicate in here. I don't want the old one. I want the new one. So I'm going to uncheck that and save it. And now I have 4 reports there. I can always add more. Again, you can remember the breadcrumbs at the top. So to get back to your list of reports, you can either click the up or click your breadcrumb and you're back on your reports here. When I go back to my main organizational dashboard, my top 5 report widget will be different here as well. Now, and from here, just because it's here, when you open it, you still can do everything we've looked at before. So you can edit your report here. You can go in and look at your summaries here, all of those things right from this from your organizational dashboard. So it's really just like a lot of things we have in the system. They're just quick links to those particular things. All right, cool. Back to reports. All right. So that is really going over all of the things that we've talked about. Let me go to the last filters, next steps. Okay, so the next thing I'm doing is everybody who attended, I'm going to go ahead and share with you a Google Drive folder that is going to include this recording, this PowerPoint presentation, and then a set of practice exercises as well that literally walk you through and tell you exactly how to do each of the steps that I just went over with you. as well. Now, also as an added sort of bonus for attending this particular live training, I'm going to be sending you each a link to my calendar to set up a time if you want to do a follow-up meeting and answer any particular specific questions you have, if there's some additional reporting you need built, or just, to check in and see how things are going. So you guys all have the ability to put something on my calendar as a follow-up meeting to this particular training. Also, we're going to continue to have future trainings. I got a lot of questions. We're doing a monthly calendar of trainings. Every month, we're going to do Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Mountain Time is our main time. I know we've got different people in different time zones. And each month, I'm going to be sending out a training calendar. I'm trying to do most Wednesdays, but you know how things come up, vacation, that sort of thing. So you'll get a calendar a couple weeks before the beginning of the month, letting you know the additional trainings that'll be coming out. We're going to keep this training going for sure through September, just depending on how people are attending, how things are going, the feedback we get, that sort of thing. So you will continue to get emails with links to the trainings, that sort of thing as well. All right. If anybody has any questions or wants to drop anything into the chat, please feel free to do that. Also, you guys will be getting direct links, emails from me. So if you have a particular question or any feedback as well, guys, I would love that. So please feel free to email me directly with any of those things as well. So I hope this has been very helpful. Again, I know it's hard just to watch. So I'll be sharing those exercises with you, that sort of thing too, moving forward so you can sort of practice and get some of the steps. The next training we're going to be going through will be more advanced. So the next training we'll be looking at creating more filters in reports and also doing graphs and tables in the system as well, which will be really interesting data too. I can kind of show you what one of those looks like. Do I have a chart in here? Nope. Just kidding. So let me show you what that one looks like. So charts are going to look like this. These are going to be the types of charts we can create. And we'll be training on this at our next training if you can make it. If you can't, again, we're going to continue to share recordings and continue to do trainings moving forward. All right, well, I'm going to give you all the gift of time. So we're getting just a little bit early, but again, if you have any questions, feedback, comments, please let me know. I do have all of your email addresses for signing up for this, so I'll make sure you get access to all of the training materials this afternoon. All right, everybody, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time and attention, and thank you for the amazing work that you do in the communities.